some machines never need to shout to prove what they are. They live in the fine line between precision and chaos, between discipline and raw speed. They remind us that control is not about restraint, but about mastering something that always wants to get away. Every twist of the throttle or flick of the wrist tells a story of balance, bravery, and design. These are the machines that pull at the imagination. The ones that make a rider feel like they are carrying a part of racing history with them on every ride. Before traction control, before layers of electronics and algorithms, there was pure mechanical connection and a sound that marked the end of an era. And in that moment, a legend was born. One that blurred the boundary between the racetrack and the open road. Stay tuned, hit like, and subscribe if you love the machines that defined entire generations. And tell us in the comments what two-stroke legend you want to see next. The Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 arrived at a crossroads in motorcycling. A moment when manufacturers were torn between the raw power of two strokes and the coming precision of four strokes. This machine was the culmination of everything Suzuki learned from the Grand Prix paddock, condensed into a 249 cubic centimeters V-twin that felt like a live wire waiting to ignite. Its very existence was a statement that riders could still have a taste of the racing world without needing a factory contract. The RGV250 SP 1994 was not just another sport bike. It was a rolling replica of Suzuki's championship-winning GP250 machines, wearing the same DNA and demanding the same respect. In the early 1990s, the motorcycle world was in flux. Racing technology was advancing faster than the average rider could adapt, and governments were starting to clamp down on emissions and noise. Two-strokes were infamous for their narrow power bands, their tendency to foul plugs, and their sharp temperaments. But they were also beloved for their intensity. Suzuki's engineers knew the RGV250 SP had to be something extraordinary to justify its price and purpose. The company's race program was delivering results, and the lessons from the track were poured directly into this bike. Everything about it was designed to mimic the feel of the GP paddock, from the aluminum frame to the distinctive banana swing arm that allowed for maximum corner clearance. Under the fairings sat a liquid-cooled, 90-degree V-twin engine that delivered around 70 horsepower at the crank. For a machine weighing just under 300 pounds dry, that was staggering. The power delivery came alive only at high RPM, a trademark of two-stroke performance. Below 6,000 revs, it felt tame. But twist harder, let the revs rise, and the bike would surge forward with a sharp, almost electric pull. The sound was unmistakable. A crackling metallic scream that carried across hills and valleys. It was a bike that forced its rider to learn discipline. Throttle control, clutch precision, and timing were not optional, they were survival tools. The 1994 SP was the pinnacle of the RGV line, the special production model built with a singular focus on performance. It featured fully adjustable suspension, a dry clutch, and close ratio gearbox. All attributes lifted directly from Suzuki's racing catalog. These were not comfort features. They were performance tools, allowing experienced riders to tailor the machine to their riding style and environment. The dry clutch rattled audibly at idle, a mechanical symphony that told anyone nearby that this was no ordinary street machine. Every part of the RGV250 SP carried intent. Even the fairing design, shaped in wind tunnels, reduced drag and provided stability at high speeds. To own one meant understanding that the RGV250 SP was a demanding partner. It rewarded precision but punished carelessness. The power band came in like a light switch. Hit it wrong, and you could easily lift the front wheel or lose traction exiting a corner. Yet, when ridden right, it delivered a rush that few four-strokes could match. Its lightweight chassis meant the bike could change direction with a thought. The feeling of connection between rider and machine was absolute. This was not a forgiving bike, but for those who could handle it, the sensation was unforgettable. Suzuki's motivation for producing the RGV250 SP was rooted in its desire to celebrate racing heritage. The company had invested heavily in the 250 cubic centimeters Grand Prix class, and the RGV name had already earned victories on the international stage. Riders like Kevin Schwantz had turned Suzuki's race bikes into icons, and the street-going SP was a direct homage to that success. It was a way to give everyday enthusiasts access to a level of performance that had once been reserved for professionals. Yet, despite its brilliance, the RGV250 SP was never built for mass appeal. Its high-strung engine required meticulous maintenance. fuel and oil consumption were high, and spark plugs needed frequent replacement. It was a precision instrument, not a commuter's tool. Every ride was an event, every refueling a ritual. Owners learned to carry two-stroke oil in their bags, to monitor engine temperature, to listen for the subtle changes in exhaust tone that hinted at mixture shifts. The suspension setup was equally unforgiving for the casual rider. The SP's forks and shock were tuned for smooth, controlled racetrack surfaces. On rough urban roads, the stiffness could be punishing. But on the right stretch of tarmac, a winding mountain pass or a closed circuit, the RGV250 SP came alive. The front end communicated everything through the handlebars. The rear tire, a narrow slick compared to modern standards, delivered feedback that skilled riders could translate into incredible lean angles. Even today, riders who experienced it describe the sensation as riding on a knife edge. It was not the top speed that defined the RGV250 SP, but the intensity of getting there. The acceleration from 8,000 to 11,000 revolutions per minute was an adrenaline spike that left riders addicted. It was a dance between chaos and control. Every corner exit was a gamble, every straight a moment of euphoria. The 1994 model represented the peak of two-stroke sophistication before emissions standards began tightening. Suzuki had refined the power valves, improved carburation, and optimized the chassis geometry for razor-sharp precision. The balance of lightweight, high revs, and tight gearing created a harmony that only existed in this brief window of motorcycle history. The RGV250 SP was never meant to last forever, and perhaps that fleeting nature is what made it so iconic. Collectors and enthusiasts now look back on the RGV250 SP as the embodiment of what sport motorcycling once meant. Pure rider engagement, no electronics, no filters, no second chances. It was a machine that demanded respect and rewarded skill. When Suzuki released it, they didn't just sell a motorcycle. They sold a dream, a portable piece of Grand Prix heritage. That dream would soon face reality as the industry moved toward cleaner, more accessible machines. For now, in this moment of 1994, the RGV250 SP stands as a symbol of rebellion against compromise. It was loud, temperamental, and completely intoxicating. It was everything a performance motorcycle could be before technology began taming the experience. For Suzuki, it was proof that engineering excellence and passion could coexist in one machine. And for riders, it was the closest thing to racing glory they would ever legally experience. The RGV250 SP 1994 had captured lightning in a bottle. The question was how long that light could last. The Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 was more than a performance showcase. It was a mechanical statement about what mattered most to true riders. When Suzuki released it, every detail spoke to the company's obsession with connection and control. In an age when horsepower numbers were rising fast, the RGV250 SP took a different approach. It focused on balance, feedback, and the precision of its chassis rather than sheer top-end speed. The engineers behind it understood that the essence of racing was not about raw numbers. It was about the relationship between human skill and mechanical perfection. The heart of the Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 was its 249 cubic centimeters two-stroke V-twin, a power plant that demanded technique. The engine's twin cylinders, firing alternately at blistering pace, generated a distinct resonance that skilled riders could read like a pulse. Suzuki equipped it with the advanced power control system, a variable exhaust valve setup that optimized flow depending on RPM. This system allowed the engine to breathe deeply at high speeds without sacrificing mid-range response. It was technology borrowed from the factory racing department, and it turned the RGV into a living instrument of precision. Every twist of the throttle delivered immediate feedback. The rider was constantly part of the tuning equation. The gearbox was tight and deliberate, requiring concentration and rhythm. Short shifts, fast clutch action, and precise rev matching were essential. Miss a beat, and the power band would slip away. Time it right, and the acceleration felt endless. This was a bike that didn't tolerate mistakes, but it also rewarded mastery in ways few others could. The Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 demanded involvement at every moment. Riders had to think 2 corners ahead, anticipating how the engine would respond to every gear change and every flick of the throttle. Handling was another revelation. The SP's lightweight aluminum frame used a twin-spar layout that wrapped around the engine like a racing chassis. It kept mass centralized and low, making the bike unbelievably agile. The banana swing arm wasn't just a styling flourish. It was functional, designed to clear the expansion chambers of the exhaust while maintaining rigidity and ground clearance. The result was a bike that cornered with the kind of confidence typically reserved for factory racers. Suzuki's decision to fit full adjustability into the suspension was part of the SP's racing character. Riders could fine-tune preload, rebound, and compression at both ends, allowing a near-infinite range of settings. For track use, this was a dream. For casual riders, it could be overwhelming. The wrong setup could turn the RGV250 SP from a precise instrument into an unpredictable machine. Yet, in the right hands, it offered a sense of control so direct that every movement of the rider's body translated immediately into action. Braking was equally focused. Twin front discs with 4 piston calipers provided powerful stopping force, balanced by a single rear disc. Because of its light weight, the RGV didn't need huge brakes. What it needed was feel, and Suzuki delivered it in spades. Modulation was smooth, the feedback immediate. Riders could trail brake deep into corners, trusting the front tire to communicate every detail of grip. This kind of transparency made the RGV250 SP one of the most confidence-inspiring sport bikes of its generation for those who had the skill to keep up. Visually, the 1994 model carried Suzuki's racing identity proudly. The fairings echoed the company's GP machines, with bold lines and sharp aerodynamics. The seating position was unapologetically aggressive, placing the rider low and forward, over the clip-ons. Long rides were punishing. This was never meant for comfort. But on a twisty back road or a closed circuit, the ergonomics made perfect sense. The Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 felt like a race bike that had escaped the track, barely civilized enough for the street. Fueling was handled by twin carburetors that required careful synchronization. Too rich, and the engine would bog. Too lean, and the temperature would soar. Owners learned to treat the bike like a living thing. Warm it up slowly, listen for changes in tone, adjust as needed. Unlike modern fuel-injected machines, the RGV's character shifted with the weather, altitude, and even the rider's patience. It was demanding, but that was the point. Suzuki built it for purists who loved the challenge of maintaining mechanical perfection. At full throttle, the RGV250 SP came alive with a surge that bordered on spiritual. The way the tachometer needle raced toward redline, the way the exhaust note sharpened into a metallic scream, it was an experience that no four-stroke could replicate. The bike didn't just move fast. It felt fast in every sense. The combination of lightweight and explosive power made it feel alive beneath the rider. Every ride was a test of nerve and precision, and that sensation became the defining memory for those who were lucky enough to ride one. But behind all that brilliance lay the shadow of inevitability. The world around the RGV250 SP was changing. Emissions regulations were tightening across Europe and Japan, forcing manufacturers to rethink two-stroke engines. Governments saw them as outdated and dirty, despite their performance and simplicity. For Suzuki, the cost of compliance was climbing, and the market for high-strung 250 cubic centimeter sport bikes was shrinking. Commuters wanted practicality. New riders wanted forgiveness. The RGV250 SP offered neither. It was too specialized, too sharp for the everyday motorcyclist. Yet even as its market declined, the legend of the RGV250 SP grew. Reviewers praised its purity, calling it one of the last true sport bikes of its kind. Racers used it in club competitions, where its balance and acceleration dominated lightweight classes. The bike became a benchmark for cornering precision, its frame geometry and suspension layout studied by enthusiasts and engineers alike. For many, it represented the end of an era, the last stand of the high-performance two-stroke. Collectors began to notice its rarity. Only a limited number of RGV250 SP units were produced, and many were ridden hard, raced, or modified. Finding an original example became increasingly difficult. Owners who had kept their stock found themselves holding pieces of history. The SP badge, which once simply meant special production, took on new meaning. It symbolized exclusivity and authenticity. Every preserved RGV250 SP 1994 became a time capsule from a world that no longer existed. The cultural impact extended beyond garages and racetracks. The RGV250 SP inspired a generation of young riders who grew up dreaming of two-strokes. It became the poster bike for those who loved the sound, smell, and precision of pre-electronic motorcycling. Even those who never rode one could recognize its silhouette: the twin pipes, the compact stance, the racing livery that hinted at its pedigree. It was a symbol of passion, skill, and mechanical artistry. Suzuki, knowingly or not, had built a legend. The RGV250 SP 1994 captured the very essence of what it meant to be a rider at the edge of performance. It required commitment, understanding, and respect. And in return, it offered an experience that was raw, vivid, and unforgettable. The world might have been ready to move on from two-strokes, but the RGV250 SP ensured that their spirit would never be forgotten. Even today, when surrounded by powerful superbikes packed with electronics, the simplicity of the RGV250 SP feels revolutionary. The Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 was the culmination of a philosophy that prized involvement over convenience. By the time it reached its final form, the world was already turning toward four-strokes with electronic controls and emissions compliance. But the RGV250 SP refused to follow that path. It embodied a mechanical ideal where every ounce of performance depended on the skill and sensitivity of the rider. Suzuki had managed to bottle the essence of Grand Prix competition in a road-going package, and that achievement would never be repeated in quite the same way. In mechanical terms, the RGV250 SP 1994 represented the apex of two-stroke sophistication. Its engine was a study in controlled aggression, delivering a precise and immediate response that no other configuration could match. Every component worked in harmony to create a sensation of seamless acceleration. The power valves adjusted dynamically, the expansion chambers pulsed with rhythmic efficiency, and the lightweight pistons spun at terrifying speed with barely any inertia. There was a purity to this motion, a sense that the bike existed solely to convert fuel, air, and skill into forward motion. It did not tolerate hesitation, but when everything aligned, it felt like magic. The design of the RGV250 SP was equally purposeful. Suzuki's engineers understood that stiffness and geometry were the keys to speed. The aluminum twin-spar frame achieved both. It was light yet rigid, allowing the suspension to do its work without interference. The banana swing arm wasn't just a technical trick, but a carefully considered solution to a racing problem. It allowed the twin expansion chambers to exit cleanly under the tail while keeping the rear wheel perfectly aligned. This was Suzuki's attention to detail at its best. Function dictating form. By 1994, the RGV250 SP's layout had been refined to near perfection. The ergonomics, though extreme, placed the rider in an ideal position for maximum control. The narrow tank, steep rake, and low seat created a posture that made body movement natural and precise. Riders could hang off the bike effortlessly, adjusting weight distribution with minute shifts. On a technical circuit, the RGV250 SP was poetry in motion. Its agility made it feel like an extension of the human body. Yet it was also a victim of its time. The tightening emissions laws in Japan and Europe were forcing every manufacturer to reconsider their two-stroke programs. Catalytic converters and restricted intakes began to appear on later models, dulling the once fierce throttle response. By the mid-1990s, four-strokes were not only cleaner but also catching up in performance. The 250 cubic centimeters category that had once been a playground for wild high-revving two-strokes was fading fast. For Suzuki, maintaining such a specialized machine was becoming less viable. The RGV250 SP 1994, therefore, stood as both a technical triumph and an elegy for its own species. The spirit of the RGV250 SP lived on through the riders who experienced it. Many remember it not as a machine but as a teacher. It taught precision, patience, and the art of momentum. It demanded that riders respect the narrow band where everything worked perfectly and punished any lapse in attention. In a world where most machines compensate for human error, the RGV250 SP was honest to a fault. If you wanted speed, you had to earn it. That principle shaped a generation of riders who later moved into professional racing or engineering, inspired by the lessons they learned on this bike. Suzuki's decision to discontinue the RGV series marked the end of an era. The company redirected its efforts toward four-strokes, focusing on compliance and broader market appeal. But the RGV's DNA didn't vanish. The lessons learned from its chassis balance, power delivery, and handling precision informed future sport bikes, even if they no longer relied on oil-burning two-strokes. In many ways, the RGV250 SP's influence extended far beyond its displacement or production years. It redefined what a small displacement motorcycle could achieve and set standards that engineers still reference when designing lightweight performance machines. Among collectors, the RGV250 SP 1994 has achieved near-mythic status. Its rarity, combined with its uncompromising design, has made it one of the most sought-after two-strokes in the world. Restoring one requires patience and dedication. Original parts are scarce, and tuning the engine to perfection takes expertise. Yet those who take on the challenge often say that it is worth every effort. To hear that engine sing again, to feel the chassis respond with such purity, is to touch a piece of history. It is not nostalgia alone that drives this passion, but a recognition that machines like this were built with intent and purpose that transcends time. In modern terms, the Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 stands as a reminder of a different engineering philosophy. Today's motorcycles are faster, safer, and more efficient, but few evoke the same visceral response. The RGV's appeal lies not in speed alone but in sensation, the feeling of mechanical life beneath you, unfiltered and raw. It speaks to an era when risk was part of the reward and mastery was earned, not programmed. This is why, decades later, its legend continues to grow. Riding an RGV250 SP today is both humbling and exhilarating. Modern tires and fuels can't fully mask its age, yet its core character remains intact. The lightweight frame, the aggressive power band, the razor-sharp handling, all of it feels as immediate as ever. It still demands attention, still rewards skill, and still offers a glimpse of what motorcycling used to be before the world became obsessed with refinement. For those who appreciate authenticity, the RGV250 SP 1994 remains an unfiltered experience. There is also an undeniable cultural legacy attached to it. The two-stroke sound, once common on streets and circuits, has become rare enough to feel sacred. When enthusiasts hear the sharp crackle of an RGV on the boil, they recognize it instantly. It is a sound that belongs to another age, when performance was raw and the bond between man and machine was everything. Suzuki may have moved on, but that sound remains a symbol of its most daring achievements. The RGV250 SP 1994 closed a chapter in the history of performance motorcycles. It was the last of its breed to carry full racing DNA without compromise, the final declaration of a philosophy that valued purity over practicality. It wasn't perfect, but perfection was never the goal. The goal was connection, to make the rider feel alive, alert, and completely engaged. And in that mission, Suzuki succeeded beyond measure. The RGV250 SP may no longer dominate the roads or racetracks, but its influence continues in the hearts of those who understand what it stood for. It proved that true greatness is measured not in longevity, but in impact. The Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 remains one of the clearest reflections of a time when performance and purity were inseparable. Its existence marked the final burst of innovation before two-stroke racing machines disappeared from showrooms, leaving behind a legacy that still defines what riders call feel. When enthusiasts talk about bikes that demanded skill and rewarded commitment, this machine always enters the conversation. The Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 was built for those who wanted to experience the heartbeat of a Grand Prix racer without the barriers of professional competition. It represented Suzuki's highest expression of engineering focus in a compact package. Every inch of its design was purposeful. Nothing was added for comfort or style alone. The twin-spar aluminum frame, the dry clutch, the razor-edge power delivery, all were elements of a single goal: to transfer the intensity of competition into the hands of an ordinary rider. This goal made the RGV250 SP unique, not just as a motorcycle but as a cultural milestone. It stood as proof that technology could serve passion rather than dilute it. What makes the Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 truly significant today is its enduring ability to inspire. Even after 3 decades, its mechanical philosophy resonates with builders, racers, and designers who strive for authenticity. It reminds us that progress does not always mean adding more. Sometimes it means refining until nothing unnecessary remains. The RGV achieved that level of purity. It had no riding modes, no electronic safety nets, and no distractions. Only the rider, the throttle, and the road ahead. Its story also serves as a lesson about timing. The RGV250 SP appeared at the perfect moment to capture the final wave of two-stroke brilliance, yet just late enough to witness its decline. That tension between mastery and mortality gives it a kind of tragic beauty. It was a machine too good to survive in a world that demanded compromise. But precisely because it was uncompromising, it became unforgettable. For collectors, the challenge now is preservation. Each surviving Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994 is a living archive of that brief, brilliant period in motorcycle history. Keeping them running is both a technical and emotional task. It requires dedication, sourcing rare components, and a deep understanding of two-stroke behavior. Yet those who restore and ride them do so not just for nostalgia, but to keep alive an idea that performance, at its core, is about connection and courage. When the last two-stroke sport bikes vanished from production, something intangible went with them. The RGV250 SP 1994 remains as evidence of what that era achieved. Lightness, responsiveness, and sound merged into a single unforgettable experience. It stands as a reminder that true performance is not just speed, but the feeling of mastery over something wild and beautiful. Suzuki gave riders a machine that didn't just move fast, it made them part of the process. And that is the lasting impact of the Suzuki RGV250 SP 1994. It changed how riders understood performance. It blurred the line between racing and reality, between human instinct and mechanical design. It captured the last great echo of two-stroke dominance before the curtain fell on an entire generation of machines. In that sense, it was both a farewell and a masterpiece. If there is one truth the RGV250 SP leaves behind, it is that perfection in motorcycling is never about power or speed alone. It is about the dialogue between rider and machine, the trust, the risk, and the reward. Suzuki understood that. And in 1994 they built a motorcycle that still speaks that language fluently. Long after the smoke has cleared, the RGV250 SP continues to define what it means to ride with purpose, passion, and precision.